As an academy owner, you work hard to build trust with your students, their parents, and your community. But trust isn't something you claim, it's something you prove and earn. That's where Academy Safe comes in. We help academies like yours stand out with verified safety standards. Background checks for all staff, U.S. Center for Safe Sports certification, concussion training, defibrillators on site, CPR, first aid and AED certification, security cameras, rank and lineage checks, and verification of business insurance. Join the trusted martial arts registry that's redefining safety throughout North America. Lead by example. Show parents you're accredited with Academy Safe.
Hello, and welcome to My Empty Hands, a podcast about the martial arts, typically focused on Kempo, but we give love to all the martial arts around here. I am Reggie Darden, and I'm excited to have another wonderful guest with me today, Mr. Jim Ockington. And we are going to talk about his journey, and we are going to definitely touch on our shared love of two very I can't talk today. Two very inspirational films in at least my martial arts journey, The Perfect Weapon and Only the Strong. So we'll definitely get into that. And like I always say, whatever other rat holes that we get onto, then we'll do that as well. I always kind of start things off with just giving a little bit of my background. I currently train in multiple martial arts, American Kempo, Taekwondo, I do have some experience in. I also did a little boxing. I also train in Hapkido, Capoeira, Muay Thai, and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So as I always say, my dance card is full, but I just can't stop training. I love it. I love all the arts, and I would do more if I could, and I probably will at some point. So that's how it goes. But that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So we're going to turn it over to our esteemed guest here, and go ahead and fill us in on when, or I should say, how the martial arts found you. Where did it all start? And we'll kind of start from there.
Okay. Well, first thing I want to say is I love your logo. That is cool. Listen to a podcast and no one's really mentioned it, but I think it's really neat. Yeah. So my journey it originally started in college, but I've had the love for the martial arts since I was a youngster, like maybe 6, 7, 8 years old. Just, if there was a fight scene on TV, I watched it back in the day. And I grew up in the 60s. I was born in 62, so got some years on me. But, back then, there was like 3 channels, NBC, ABC, CBS, and we had some UHF channels. We had born and raised in the Cleveland area, Cleveland, Ohio, and we had the 43 and 61. Those ones you had the foil on the antennas, and you had to hold your right foot out while you held the hand.
Oh yeah.
But used to see all kinds of TV shows, the Green Hornet, Wild Wild West, the old Batman. I joke about the old Johnny Sacco and the Flying Robot and Ultraman.
Oh, yeah.
Even on those 43 and 61 channels, they had the old Godzilla movies, and even Godzilla was fighting the monsters and throwing punches and kicks, which was funny back in the day. But, yeah, I was into all of that. But, parents were divorced when I was 6. Didn't really have a lot of money when we were growing up back then. So even if I knew what martial arts school was, I know that I wouldn't have been able to attend it back in that day. But still always had the love for it. Started wrestling when I was in junior high and high school. So, that is considered a martial art these days.
Oh, very much so. Very
Yeah.
much so.
I wasn't very good. I was average. I was strong for my age. I was actually, a bigger kid for my age too, but I was also strong for my weight classes. So I used to always try and outmuscle my opponents. I wish I would have known back in the day how much balance and technique and leverage really mattered. I found that out after I was taking the martial arts. That would have helped me a lot back in the day in my wrestling days, but I used it more for keeping in shape for football and baseball. But then in college, I ended up taking just a class they had was a karate class, and I always liked to try and take some phys ed class when I was there, and I really liked it. It was an Ishinryu karate, just the basics and stuff. But they had a club, so at the end of the semester, they said, "Hey, we have this club if you'd be interested in it." And I was interested, so I said, "I'll go check it out." So I went and checked it out. It was pretty big. They had a lot of students there, but yeah, it wasn't for me. I joked that it kind of had the old Perfect Weapon scene in there. That when people lined up, if you didn't line up right, remember in the movie The Perfect Weapon when they would hit each other across down the line?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, well,
Oh yeah.
it wasn't the students that would hit you, it was the instructors. If you didn't line up straight, you didn't do things right. And I'm like, yeah, okay, not for me. So didn't continue with it, didn't think about it until years later. Friend of mine was a black belt in Taekwondo. And I told him about my story and stuff, and he just said, "Hey, Jim, there's lots of good schools out there. There's a few bad ones out there, but most of the schools, there's good schools. Just go check them out again. Don't worry about the style. I was into the flash kicks. This was like the late '80s. So Van Damme and those movies were out, and was interested in the Taekwondo, but I took his advice, just looked around and stuff. And then the first school I went to was a bad school. I'm like, oh, here we go. But what's interesting is, of all these schools that I went to, there was only a couple that I would have said weren't good schools. All the rest were really good schools. But even the ones that I didn't like, they were very successful. So there's something out there for everyone, right? So something that didn't resonate with me resonated with others. And schools that I probably thought were good schools, there's probably people who thought that they weren't. But I kept going around. I told myself I wasn't going to do a snap judgment and sign up. Probably went and saw about 15 schools in the area, and went a little bit farther out from where I lived and where I worked. But I found this one, and it just resonated with me right out of the gate. Owner was great. Sat there and talked with him for about an hour. I watched some of his classes. I talked to some of the instructors, and I said, "Yep, this is me." So I made the snap judgment, and I signed up that day.
Very nice.
And I've never looked back. I've been with him for 36 years. He's been my instructor for 36 years. Even moved away in the around 2018, 2017. My wife moved and I moved to Florida. But I still kept in touch with them, and I still trained. I was still working in the Cleveland area, so I was still traveling up there and was able to train and really enjoyed the school. I mean, what I really liked about it when I got there was a lot of black belts, and they were higher ranked black belts. So it wasn't a school where they just cranked out a black belt and then the people left, because that was their only goal. Mm-hmm. There was something there that was keeping people there to want to continue to advance. It was WT Taekwondo is the style. We didn't do the Olympic style sparring though, because all the tournaments and stuff that were in the area and in the open tournaments that we did, they were all point sparring. So that's what we focused on, was the point sparring. But we did all the WT requirements.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it wasn't Kukiwan certified. There really wasn't a lot of Kukiwan certified schools in the Cleveland area. If there were, I didn't find them. And what was interesting, I didn't know there were different types of Taekwondo. I didn't know there was an ITF or an ATA or a USTA. So I was in my own little world of WT Taekwondo. I do ITF as well now. So when I moved to Florida, I moved here. I'm in a retirement community called The Villages. A lot of people have seen some commercials about it on TV. They promote it quite a bit. It's huge. It's like 200,000 people that live here. There's 70 golf courses, 110 swimming pools. There's 3,500 social clubs. So when my wife wanted to move here, I kind of joked with her and I said, hey, I don't want to move here unless there's a Taekwondo club, because I thought there'd be no way there'd be 50, 60, 70, 80-year-olds doing jump spin kicks and breaking boards. Well, sure enough, there was. There's a Taekwondo school here. It's ITF. So I went, they had a tournament. They were hosting a tournament. They were affiliated with a gentleman, Ockington, out of Tampa. He's a ninth Dan. He's actually the vice president of the US ITF operations. He reports to the president of the ITF in Korea. So we have tournaments with his schools. When we test for our black belts, we test half our black belts with our school, and then we test in front of all of his schools. And then all his people who are being promoted to black belt, we call it a black belt extravaganza. And we test in front of him as well. But yeah, when I went, I said, well, let me check out the school. So I went and checked out the school, and it's a club, right? So I thought, oh, there'll just be a bunch of people just working out in the corners and stuff. And but no, he runs it exactly like a regular Korean Taekwondo school. His instructor was Grandmaster Kwan, who was one of the 6 instructors that General Choi sent out to the world to promote Taekwondo. So tight lineage back to General Choi. But yeah, runs it just like a regular school. I'm like, yeah, I'm in. This is for me. And it was interesting. I was a high-ranked Dan in WT, and he says, well, you're WT, we're ITF. It's different. And I said, yeah. When I was watching the classes, I could see all the forms were different and everything. So he asked me, he says, hey, you can wear your black belt if you want, but I'd rather you start as a white belt. And then, as fast as you can learn our requirements, I'll promote you. And I said, yeah, I'll start as a white belt. I have no problem with that. I told him, I said, I don't know your requirements, so if I have a black belt on and someone asks me a question, I look bad if I can't answer it, and the school looks bad. And he does that for a lot, because there's a lot of people that come in. We have 55 people in the school, and we have a lot of people who come that have black belts. They had like black belts 30 years ago and then stopped. Life got in the way and everything, and then folks who've trained and then quit because life got in the way, or they've never trained. And then there were a few like myself that had black belts but continued to train. And so he would advance you as quickly as you could. So you knew that you saw the people who had trained for 30 years. You could see they were pretty rusty.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But yeah, it was like funny with me when I first started. The uniform didn't fit. He makes you come in for a couple classes, and then if you do, then he'll give you the uniform. Uniform didn't fit. I guess he thought I was bigger than I was, and with a white belt. Well, I gave the uniform back, and then the next class he gave me a yellow belt, and I'm like, oh yeah, I got promoted already. But no, he was true to his word. He promoted me. I've been there for 5 years now, and he promoted me to a Dan every year, so I'm a 4th Dan there. And I give you a lot of credit with all those martial arts that you're doing. Just between WT and ITF with the forms, I get them mixed up.
Well, that's yeah. It kind of gets it kind of gets jumbled up a little bit in the sense that I mean, there's a lot of material in Kempo. There's a lot of material to pick up on, and I kind of half joke, but am also serious in that one of the reasons why I'm doing Hapkido is that we don't have any forms, so it's like, oh, okay, well, this is nice. I already have a lot overloaded in my brain with with that. I guess that could kind of carry over into Muay Thai and Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. There's no forms, no katas, so. That makes it a little bit easier on me, but yeah, I just, it's for me, it's just, I just really enjoy the training, and there's all this stuff that I want to learn, and then also I would say part of it is just, I don't know, divine intervention or however you want to call it, in that I say that that the martial arts chooses you. You don't choose martial arts. I mean, I've always wanted to do Kempo and Taekwondo and Hapkido and all these different things. And like, for example, the Hapkido school that I train at, it's like the only school in the area for that. And I was at a point where I was needing to kind of find another school, and it was like, you know, the light shines down. It's like, oh, well, like, here's a Hapkido school. You've always wanted to do that, and now you have the opportunity to do that. So, you know, don't pass up that opportunity. So I think a big part of training there is because of that. And you know, having a good teacher is always is important, and I've been fortunate that I haven't had any bad teachers in my training, and because there's definitely some out there.
There are, unfortunately. Yep. There's more good ones than bad ones, but there are. So what was nice for me up north with my WT training was they also taught Hapkido. So what they did when you did your Taekwondo requirements, every belt rank they had like 3 or 4 or 5 Hapkido techniques that you had to do as part of self-defense as well. So as I was working through and going through my black belt for WT, you know, I was realizing, wow, I'm getting a lot of the Hapkido requirements in here too. Well, maybe I'll do both. So I focused on getting my black belt first in Taekwondo, but we learned about 25 to maybe a third of the requirements for Hapkido as part of that. So I said, well, as I work for my second Dan, I'm going to work for my first Dan in Hapkido. So I really enjoyed that because I like the blend of the two.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm right there with you. I like the different aspects of the different systems. So they complement each other very well. So I like that. Yeah. So now we'll probably bounce around here, but kind of one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on. So you were on the Everyday Martial Artists podcast with Brian Doucette. Big fan of his show, and we've both been on each other's show and everything. But on your particular episode, you had a great affinity for the movie The Perfect Weapon with Jeff Speakman, the Kempo movie, and you brought it up quite a few times during the episode, and I was like, oh well, I definitely have to have him on to talk about that. And so kind of one of the questions that I had, even though you're primarily a Taekwondo Hapkido man, I'm kind of curious how, with having such a love for the Perfect Weapon and Kempo, you brought it up a number of times in that episode. I'm curious how come no Kempo training, or have you had some Kempo training? curious on that.
Yeah, so yeah, it's interesting. What I loved about that movie was, you just never seen anything like that on the big screen. He just brought something that was completely different, and just how fast it was, and the hand techniques. Being Taekwondo, right? So we don't emphasize the hands as much. Our school did, because we did the point sparring. But yeah, just was fascinated by it. Except when he beat up the three Taekwondo guys, I was like, well, okay. But also my instructor, he partners with a gentleman on the other side of Cleveland. So we were more on the northeast side. His good friends on kind of the west side, who's a Kempo martial artist. And they do tons of promotions together. They've done huge tournaments. They used to have this massive tournament out by the airport. There were like 20 plus rings going at the same time. They had nighttime finals. They did kickboxing finals or matches at night. And what they did also were seminars. And my instructor was really big in seminars and in cross training and bringing in folks and having seminars. And he'd open it up to everybody in Ohio and in a lot of the reach. We were big in the PKC tournament circuit, which is a big Midwest one that was started by Grandmaster Glenn Keeney. May he rest in peace. But that was Indiana and Michigan and New York and Pennsylvania and Illinois. So a lot of those folks would come to these seminars and stuff too. Well, at one of the big tournaments that they had, Jeff Speakman came to it. And he did a seminar. And then also got a chance to meet him. And it was funny, at the tournament, he was just walking around and no one was talking to him. And so a couple of my buddies and I said, hey, let's go talk to Jeff Speakman. And they're like, oh, no. And I know that's why he's here. He's supposed to be, networking and talking. And I said, come with me. We'll come. We ended up talking to him for like a half an hour. What a great guy.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And he was in the process. He just finished filming a movie. It was called Red Something. I forget what it was. I saw it. It was okay. Mm-hmm. Perfect Weapons, his big one. But I've got a lot of good friends that were Kempo martial artists. But because of Hapkido and the Taekwondo, I just didn't want to take the chance of overwhelming my brain.
Gotcha.
So what I was interested in when we moved here to the villages, and with all these martial arts or clubs that they had, I would have thought if there was one martial art that someone might be teaching here would be Kempo. It just seemed like it would be something a little bit easier on the older bodies. Versus the Taekwondo, but they don't. They have Aikido, they have Gojinryu, they have another one that's a blend of Shotokan and Isshinryu, but they didn't have Kempo. If they would have had a Kempo one, I would have done my Taekwondo and the Kempo. Because I think it's a beautiful art. Yeah.
Gotcha. Any thoughts or plans of getting into it? Finding a teacher or a school and getting into Kempo? Or
yeah, I thought about maybe there's an opportunity to with the COVID, we found that online training does have a place. And I thought it'd be interesting. I was just at a big event in Cincinnati last weekend. Danny Lane had a big event, and my one friend, he actually tested for his 8th Dan there in Kempo. And I'm watching him do some of these forms, and I'm like, God, there gotta be like 100 moves in that form.
Yeah, they get pretty complicated.
Yep. Yeah, and he just kept going and going and going. And he was dying, because he just kept having to do those long forms, and it was amazing how many steps are in those and how many you have to learn.
Yeah, that's you just like with anything, it's just a lot of repetition and practice, and and it somehow sticks in there eventually. You do it enough times, and pieces start sticking. So
Yeah, yeah.
very nice, very nice. So now I'm curious. So you've been inducted into a Hall of Fame or two, and I'm curious, kind of how you feel about that. Did that kind of come about? Just kind of, I don't know. What are your thoughts about being a multiple Hall of Famer, and is there any kind of imposter syndrome or any kind of thing like that?
It's very humbling. I think I just got lucky. My instructor in Cleveland is very well known. He, like I said, he used to do all these seminars, and we used to have all kinds of folks come in. We were a Bill Wallace affiliated school, so we got to know Mr. Wallace really well. He used to come to our school all the time, and when we would go to other events, he would be there, and then he would introduce us to all these other famous martial artists. My instructor was putting together a video to try and help people way back in the day how to choose a school. He called it The Right Choice. So he was interviewing all these folks. We go to the Battle of Atlanta.
Oh, nice,
Yeah,
nice.
so my instructor knew Mr. Corley really well. There's another gentleman, Mr. Larry Black, who would line my instructor up with all these famous folks. I got to meet Chuck Norris. May he rest in peace. That was sad. But Joe Louis and Cynthia Rothrock and all these folks. But I was just riding the coattails of my instructor because he was getting all these things lined up. So because of that, I got to know a lot of folks. And so when opportunities came up for these Hall of Fame events, they reached out to me and say, hey, you've either been nominated. My instructor would nominate me, or some other folks that I know in Cleveland would nominate me, or others that I had gotten to know over the years. Of some of these folks that we met would nominate me and ask me if I would be interested if I got inducted. And when some of these big name people are reaching out to you, it's kind of hard to say no. So it's been, like I said, very honored to be a part of these, very humbled to be a part of these. I see some of these folks that I'm standing next to. Yeah, you kind of sit back and say, am I really that deserving? I'm not a big name guy, but a lot of folks really want to have some of the non big name folks to be a parts of their events and stuff. And that was kind of like the everyday martial artist. I was giving him names of people he should have on the thing, never thinking he'd reach out to me. And then when you reached out to me, right, I'm like, wait, I'm not a Kempo guy. But I loved your response, which is you have the love for all arts. And,
Oh yeah, for sure. No, well, I've definitely sent Brian quite a few names, and I mean, he's a big reason why I do this show. Just because I'm I'm not patient enough for to wait for him to get to some of the people that I've sent to him. So, but I think everyone has a story, and I love hearing the stories. And as much as I would love to have the millions of listeners versus my dozens of listeners now, I just love hearing the stories. I love hearing people's journeys, and just getting to kind of talk to them, and getting us closer to a kind of a point of unity and togetherness with all the martial arts, not just Kempo or not just Taekwondo or any particular art. I think we all can learn from each other and fellowship with each other, and get those stories out. And as much as we all love the big names, the Bill Wallaces and all those sorts of people, it's also good to hear the stories of the non big time known people, because
Yep.
we all have something to share. We all have something that we can learn from each other. So I think it's important to get those out there, and I just love doing it.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's a lot of work, but it's fun, and it's worth it. And so
Well,
as long
we
as people keep
appreciate you
saying
doing
yes,
it.
I'll keep doing it.
Yeah, we
So,
appreciate you doing it because we love listening to them, and listening to the big name folks and the not big name folks. And a lot of times, some of the better interviews are the folks you've never heard of before.
yeah, I would definitely agree with that. I mean, just in kind of some of the ones that I've done. Yeah, I think I mean, it's like children. You can't pick any favorites.
Right.
But, my quote unquote favorite, some of my favorite ones have been the non well known people, just because they may have a unique story, or just a very inspirational story. I like that
Yeah.
in these times where just we're so kind of caught up in our technology and all these other nonsense, that it's nice to be able to hear someone saying, "Oh, well, I'm training because it's helping me get over this particular difficulty that I'm having in my life," or something like that, or getting those relationships with people. I mean, I hate to bring up COVID and all that, because that's in the rear view mirror, but
Right.
it really had a really just devastating effect on people's relationships and being able to connect with people. We were shelled away from each other, and it just, humans, I believe, are very social creatures, and
Yeah.
when you take that away, it just really has really devastating effects. And just kind of seeing that all the time. My wife is in the educational system, and just dealing with the young people that are coming up that were affected by that.
Yeah.
It's just every day we're just seeing just how much damage it's done. So I think martial arts is very important, and much like other guests have said, martial arts. I think everyone should do martial arts, at least for a little bit. Get a taste for it.
Yeah.
I totally realize that it's not for everybody, but I think we would definitely be better off if everybody got a little bit of the good stuff in training, and it would help our society and everything else be a little bit better. So.
And that's what's great about some of these Hall of Fame events is, we kind of joke about it when we go there. They're almost like high school reunions, because you're seeing a bunch of old friends and catching up, but then you're meeting new people and making new friends, and they all have some phenomenal seminars that you get to attend. And I always emphasize to people that if you get a chance to go to any of these, just go and participate, because they're fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah, I need to try and get to one of those. I actually was invited to, not even sure which one it was, but I was invited to something a few months back, and just with everything else going on, it's hard to get out to every little thing. So
Yeah.
but yeah, I definitely need to get out to one of these kind of events sometime in the not too distant future, and get starstruck. I know that's definitely one of the things that has been fun about this show. I've just been super excited about some of the people that I've had a chance to talk to. There's a number of people that I've grown up watching and following and stuff that I never in a million years would have believed that. Oh well, I'm going to get to chat with them. I mean,
Yeah.
we'll bring it back to The Perfect Weapon. I mean, I had a chance to interview Jeff Speakman, and it was getting that all set up was fun, and I still kind of slap myself that it's like, well, like I have his phone number, and
Yep.
like
Yep.
I still have his voicemail saved on my phone. And it's been like a couple years now, I think, and it's still on there, and it's not getting deleted. So, but yeah, never would I have imagined that. Watching that movie, it's like, oh yeah, well, one day I'm going to be talking to him and training in that art, and come to find out that my Kempo instructor, my Kempo teacher, actually trained with Mr. Speakman for a while. So that's it's like, wow, this is it's a small world, but it's pretty awesome that we have these connections. So.
Yeah.
So I like them. So throwing it back to your journey, the teaching side of it. When did you get into that? And was that something that you were always interested in, or was it thrust upon you? How did that start out?
So it is thrusted upon us. So as part of our training, when we got to, like, I think it was third cup, we had to start teaching. At least when we did breakouts. So if we did breakouts, so at the red belt level, you'd have to work with some white or yellow belts, or maybe even some green or blue belts. But for you to get promoted for your black belt, you had to do some teaching, and you did that for second and first cup as well. I loved it. It just seemed natural for me. Everybody that I was instructing liked my style, so yeah, I just kept wanting to do it. And as I got my first degree and second degree and third degree and fourth degree, I was kept wanting to teach, even though we had higher ranks in the classes. A lot of them didn't want to, so they always liked when I came to class, because they'd be like, hey Jim, go ahead, lead the class. Or I would just walk up to them and just ask them, because I wanted to make sure I had their permission in case they did want to instruct. But yeah, I just love kind of running the show. Our instructor liked us leading the classes, because what he would do is he would then walk around and give more one-on-one instruction with some of the students, which I think was good for them, because you're actually getting him in, talking to you and helping you, versus being in front of the class and in teaching. And yeah, I've been teaching for 36 years, so probably 33 years I've been teaching. And here in the villages, as I got advanced to my dans here, they have me as one of the instructors. So I instruct the red belts as they're getting prepped for their black belt, and I love it. Yeah, just something that I
Very nice.
enjoy.
Now, are there things that in your training, since you've been involved for quite some time, are there things that maybe we used to do in training that we don't do now that you wish would come back, and vice versa? Are there things that we do now that we didn't do back in the day that you wish you would have done back in the day?
Yeah, some of the things that we did back in the day probably go to jail these days.
Oh, for sure,
Yeah.
for sure.
But I mean, one of the things I've learned is to be more patient. I've always been patient, but I've just become more and more patient. Everybody has kind of their own way, and you have to figure out what works best for them on how to help them learn some of the new requirements and that. Some of the things that I'd like to see come back, I liked a little bit more of the structure. Um, like if you did some things wrong, you said some things wrong, you're doing knuckle push-ups. Um, it's a little bit more lax these days. So I do like to see more etiquette to the head instructor and the other instructors, and there's a little bit too much, I would say, kind of friendship
Yeah, no,
alignment with
I
the
know.
instructors.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There's definitely a. Oh gosh, how would I want to say this in the most PC way? Uh, I think I think now there's a little bit more emphasis on everybody kind of being on the same level, and that may sound a little harsh than it is, but um, I mean, I don't think that the teacher should be this lifted up figure in that just everything they say and do, we just have to kind of bow to them or anything like that. But uh, there is a different there is a hierarchy to the teacher and student relationship, and I feel like in our current days, it, it's a little bit closer than it probably should be, and uh, just kind of like you said, having that respect for the instructor and kind of listening to what they're doing. I mean, if you're getting training, and I don't think that it should be a situation where you never question the instructor. I think that's part of the growth is being able to get things that you're learning and don't just kind of take it as, oh, well, this is what we do, this is what we've always done. Like you definitely do need to have some desire to get deeper in the knowledge,
Yep.
but at the same time, you don't don't want to be one of those people where the teacher teaches you something and then it's like, oh, well, that's not right, or
Yep.
I didn't see that on the UFC, so that's not right. It's like,
Yeah.
no, there's a little bit more to that, and in these days of the internet, there's a lot of keyboard warriors and that sort of thing, and somebody will post something, and there's of course context, and just seeing a little snippet of something, and you don't get the full context, but people are ready to jump on online and go, oh, well, that's not how you do it, and I mean, I will be, I will be fully take accountability, and I've done a little bit of that myself, but I will say that I am not one of these people that will just say, oh, well, that wouldn't work, or that's not right, and not provide some context to, or some explanation to.
Yep.
I'm not just going to say, oh, well, that's wrong, and then just leave it at that. I'm going to say, oh, well, I don't think that's correct. Here's a link to a video, or here's why don't think it's right. And I think there should be a little bit more of that, instead of just shooting down any kind of training or anything like that. There should be that discussion and that back and forth.
Yep.
Versus just one side just shooting everything down and name calling and all that nonsense. Like, no, I'm not for participating in that. But
my big thing is, so what I let some of the students know is, don't question on the floor in front of everybody. They ask you to do something and it's not or they correct you on your form and you know it's not right, just say, yes, sir. Do what they say. When you get off the floor, then you come to me or another one of the instructors and say, hey, what happened there? And we'll let you know. And then if we see something, we'll talk to the head instructors, or if I question a lot too, but I always do it off on the side because I feel like I'm still learning, and like I said, I get my WT forms mixed up with my ITF forms, and some of the moves start the same way, but they have different transitions, and I have to always get my head right. And am I wrong? Or did you instruct that incorrectly? Which one is it? Because I want to make sure, because I'm teaching, I want to make sure I'm teaching it right. So.
Gotcha. So what is what is your thoughts for kind of the future of martial arts and the future of Taekwondo? And so with things like the UFC getting their popularity and us kind of getting away from, I like to say the kind of Mr. Miyagi Karate Kid days of I can't. I'm at a loss for the word, but just that kind of respect and
the Bushido side of it,
Yeah, there you go. There you go. That's So with MMA and those kind of things, kind of taking over, and we don't have that kind of Bushido way of teaching and stuff these days, or that kind of relationship. What are your kind of thoughts of the future of martial arts? Where do you kind of see it going? Where would you like to see it go? And just kind of what are your thoughts on that?
So I was more concerned probably like in the earlier 2000s when after Dana White's group took over the UFC and they had that first Ultimate Fighter. Mm-hmm. It really just boomed after that, right? I saw a lot of people coming into our school saying, "I want to learn how to fight. I'm gonna do MMA." Well, we don't do that. We're here to teach you not to fight, right? It's self-defense. It's more about personal development. And no, I want to learn to fight. And it's like, okay, well, there's other schools for you for that. And I did see dips in almost all the martial arts, the traditional martial arts, all styles, because of that. But I would say in the last 5+ years, it's coming back. I think the traditional aspect of it, I think, is coming back. And I think the UFC and MMA has gotten so saturated that I think it's lost a little bit of its luster too, because there's just like a fight every weekend, big card every weekend, and all these weight classes, and I can't even keep up with the people that are in it anymore. So I'm still high on traditional martial arts, and I hope that it continues.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a different animal than it was before. I mean, I remember watching the first few UFCs, and people would bow when they were entering the octagon and things like that. And now it's just it's more no
WWE,
no shade, no shade to wrestling and WWE and that sort of thing, but it's definitely become more of a spectacle than kind of an honest competition. And just like with anything, yes, there are some good and bad on both sides, and
I think there's a market for both.
Things evolved, but it's much more quote unquote interesting to watch those that are more kind of out there and more animated and that sort of thing, and talking trash to the other people and stuff like that, and that's more exciting to watch, at least as far as the the TV producers and stuff are concerned. Versus it's like, oh well, we're having a humble test of skills and that sort of thing. So yeah, it's changed quite a bit, and I guess like with anything, it kind of goes back and forth, and there's ebbs and flows as far as how people respond to these different things. But yeah, I would like to see more of that honor,
Yeah.
that sort of thing come back. So. All right, so we are going to go ahead and move to our lightning round here. So I've got a few little questions for you as we head towards wrapping up our time today. The first question being, do you have a favorite technique?
I would say I always loved the side kick. The flash kick that I liked, I always loved the tornado kick.
No, yes, very nice.
But I would say the best technique you could have, it really isn't a technique. I would say it's a tenet of Taekwondo, which is self-control. It's the hardest one to adhere to.
Oh, for sure.
But, I think, it was an old movie that I loved, and one of the taglines in it was, "The anger is the enemy." And, if you can keep your emotions in check and stay relaxed, I think that helps you out more than having a best technique. Because then all the techniques would be easier for you to apply.
Gotcha. Very nice, very nice. All right, the next question, do you have a favorite form?
So, in WT, I always loved choreo. That's the first Dan black belt. I do like Hansu, which is the eighth Dan. It's got kind of a semi-tornado kick in that one.
Very nice.
And then in ITF, the one that I really like, it's called Moon Moo. It's got 61 moves in it, but it's all about balance. So you're doing a lot of one-legged slow motion kicks in the move. So even though it's 61 moves, there's probably about 10 slow motion moves in it. So it takes a while to get through it as well. But I love the base of it being you have to hold your balance on doing side kicks, and you have to do spin turn kick, but it's a slow motion spin turn kick. So it's tough.
Oh yeah, no, my legs are tightening up just thinking about it. Very nice, very nice. All right, next question, do you have a favorite weapon?
I always like practical weapons, so something that you could pick up if you needed. So the bow, sticks. Hapkido has the cane. I like the cane. And then I've learned some knife forms that I really liked.
Very nice, very nice, very nice. I like it. All right, since you're a Taekwondo practitioner, we will add this in. Do you have a favorite break? Or I guess I should say a favorite one, and then your hardest break.
So my favorite, so the ones that I've been doing recently, which is kind of tough because I'm in my 60s now. I've been doing 5-board hammer fists or 5-board palm strikes. The hardest one I did was I did a 2-board knee break.
Oh, okay.
But without putting my foot down. So I did the 2-board knee break without putting my foot down. I then went right into a 5-board palm strike.
Oh,
And I
nice.
remember doing that at a tournament, and everybody, you know, just it's for my I think that was for my fourth Dan black belt. They the whole crowd was going whoa, you know.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because the one thing I don't
Yeah.
like when people are doing the breaks, like multiple board breaks, is when they sit there in front of the boards and they, you know, sit in front of it like 10 times. It's just like, just break the board, right? So that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to just break it, you know.
Yeah, I always, that always I always found that kind of funny. I have yet to have to do it formally for any of my training. However, my next after once I get my next Hapkido belt, then breaking will start becoming a part of my testing, and. But yeah, I always like, okay, you line up your board, you know, you take a time or two to kind of measure it out, and then you do it. Doing it setting it up 10 times,
Yeah.
it's like it's not that big a deal. I mean, yes, you have to make sure you're lined up right and your mental is good, but yeah, we we don't need to take all day to do
Yeah.
this. Let's just go ahead and get it done.
Well,
So,
actually, you know, my hardest break was for my first Dan. So we had to break 8 individual boards in 12 seconds.
oh my,
And then for every second you were off, you had to do 25 push-ups. And you had to
as a
do
person that's not great at push-ups, yeah,
yeah.
I'm breaking those because I'm not doing push.
or he'd make you do sit-ups. For me, for my test, he made me do duck walks because he knew I could do push-ups and
Oh,
sit-ups forever.
yeah, my knees can't handle
Yeah,
that anymore.
I was younger, but and it had to be 4 different hand techniques and 4 different foot techniques. So I lined up everybody, and the key was to do the hand techniques first because you could blast those out real fast. So I had them all set up, lined them all up, and then my instructor goes, "Are you ready?" And I said, "Yes." And he goes, "Okay, I'm changing it. I want a hand and a foot, a hand and a foot, a hand and a foot, a hand and a foot." And I staggered for a second. And I go, "Excuse me, sir?" And he goes, "Go." So it took me 15 seconds. I got through them, but I think 3 seconds was just my, you know, shock of having to figure out what techniques to do because the boards were being held a certain way. You had to make sure that you did the right technique so you didn't go against the grain.
Hmm. Yeah, no, the teachers love to throw these
They
curveballs
sure
during
do.
testing. I don't know why they do that.
Yep, yep.
Very nice. All right. Our next question: if there's anyone that you could train with, living or dead, fictional or non-fictional, who would that be?
Fictional or non-fictional? You
Yeah,
know,
just anybody ever.
this is probably kind of strange, but I would say Mr. Miyagi.
I like it. I
Yeah,
like it.
I liked his demeanor. You know, he was always calm, and he was always about you're learning to fight without fighting. And you know, he was using you know, daily routines to help you learn the actual movements and stuff. But when he had to fight, yeah, he could fight.
Exactly. Yeah, get it done when you need to. Very
Yeah.
nice. Very nice. I like it. All right. So we are at our final piece of business today, and that is the shameless self promotion. So you can plug anything that you want, or if there's anything that we hadn't covered that you wanted to get out there today, you now have the floor, and then we will close out from there.
Oh yeah. So if anybody's happens to come to the villages for any reason, and you want to come check out our Taekwondo club, feel free. There's pamphlets out there that tell you where they are and what time. And then again, like I said, with the Hall of Fames, I really, even though may not be someone that's inducted or a part of it, you can still be a part of it. And that is they have some really incredible seminars with some incredible instructors that cross all different disciplines of the different martial arts. And it's a great networking opportunities.
Very nice, very nice. Yeah, it's important to get out there and talk to the people and get connected with all that you can, so you
Yeah.
can absorb all the knowledge out there. There's not enough that any one person can get everything in one lifetime. So let's get together and share ideas and thoughts and experiences and
Yeah,
all that
next
good
weekend
stuff.
is the Cleveland Martial Arts Hall of Fame, which I'll be going to, but this probably won't be out by then.
Yeah, there's I've got a pretty big backlog
I'm
of
sure you do. Yep.
of episodes that I'm working on, and as much as I would love to put them all out on one day, I don't think that's I don't think that's a good method for success. But we will definitely get those out there, and I will definitely work on getting this out as soon as I can, so that we can hear your journey. So yeah, so I thank you again for taking the time to being on and sharing your story, and you have a open invitation to be on anytime that you'd like. And yeah, we definitely should have you on to get into more stuff. I mean, we didn't even talk at all about Only the Strong, and
Yeah.
we didn't do the deep dive of the Perfect Weapon, but yeah, we'll definitely have you on again to get into some more topics. But yeah, just again, thank
Yeah,
you for being on. And
thank you. We didn't get to you always have that question about what does it mean to be a black belt?
oh yes, shoot, let's go ahead and do it. We'll do it out of order. I was thinking about if I should do that, and actually haven't done it in the last few recordings,
Oh, okay.
but yeah, let's bring it back. Yeah, let's go ahead and what are your thoughts on being a black belt, what it takes to be a black belt, what it means to continue to be worthy of a black belt, and just kind of what are your thoughts surrounding that?
Yeah. Yeah, so it's funny when you talked at the beginning about maybe getting into some rat holes. I always thought this question could be one of those,
Yeah, it can definitely go in a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
It's been fun with my different guests, because you kind of have a thought that everybody's going to be kind of in the same general, kind of have the same general idea, but I've seen that it really does go in very different ways sometimes, and kind of what you would think everybody would kind of say, they really don't. So yeah, I like, that's why I like the question, and yeah, it can definitely go in many different directions.
Right.
But
So for me, the black belt, it's a very individual thing, right? It's your own personal story, it's your own personal journey with your instructor. And there's people that say, some people get their black belts too quickly, and who are they to say that? Why? What I don't understand is, why is this such a rub? Because as a martial artist, we learn, we have our tenets in Taekwondo. Some places have creeds and their philosophies and stuff. What happened to courtesy? What happened to humility? What happened to respect? Why are you disrespecting somebody's journey? Chuck Norris got his black belt in 1 year in Korea. So you saying that's an illegitimate black belt? That any black belt that he had after that would be considered illegitimate? No. Why do you care? Why do people want to get up on their perch, flap their little wings, and tell you that you're doing things wrong. It has nothing to do with you, you know. Let people, some of these schools where the kids get black belts and advanced black belts at a young age. Why is that hurting you? Are you saying that you're trying to manage the integrity of the martial arts? No, you're not. One, you're either being pompous, or you don't like the individual for some reason, right? Why do you care? It's not hurting you. If they don't look like they're a black belt, well, we'll see that. They go to a tournament and they do black belt forms, they'll get crushed, right? Because, they're a third Dan at the age of 10. Okay, there's schools that do that. I don't care. They don't bother me. Somebody has a high rank. I don't care. It doesn't bother me. Why does it bother you? And we have these, I don't think I've heard anybody really on your podcast talk about this, but years in rank, skip level promotions, and people who self-promote. Again, why do you care? Who came up with time and rank? Was it some guy in a temple 2,000 years ago? No. They didn't have ranks back then, right? When did they come up with these ranks and stuff? 50s, 60s, 1970s or something? So to get a ninth Dan, that's like one generation. Well, who says that it's... So to me, time and rank, it's not time and rank, it's time. It's really about, do you have the maturity and have you been consistent in your training? Someone wants to skip level and their instructor wants to skip level them, that's between them. It doesn't hurt me. I would never disrespect them. I would congratulate them. There's people who self-promote. They started their own systems and they wanted to blend some systems together. Well, how do they get their rank in that? They have to self-promote them. I'm okay with that. You can see people and you can see, hey, this is a good martial artist. This is somebody who's been training for 20, 30, 40, 50 years. I'm an example, right? I have people who give me a hard time about my ITF rank. Well, you got 4th Dan in 4 years. Well, yeah, I've been training for 36 years, right? My instructor, all my ranks have been from my original instructors. So my instructor here in the Villages, he's 88. He just turned 88. And he still trains on the floor. It's amazing. Breaks bricks.
Nice.
He was okay with me getting it in 4 years. But it's because I've had the maturity over the years, and I've been consistent in my training. And the 9th Dan in Tampa signed my certificate as well. He's okay with it. With my instructor in WT, right, there's some people who don't like my rank in WT. That they don't know my story. And my story is, when I was testing for my 5th, I injured my Achilles. And so I had to hold off. Well, as I was thinking about 5th Dan back then in WT, that is considered master. Well, my instructor was a master, and I was like, I don't want to be a master. They call me Mr. Jim on the floor. I'm good with that, right? My master, that's So my perception of a master was up here, right? So I held off. I didn't want to test for my 5th Dan. My instructor kept trying to push me. He finally backed off, and he said, "Well," and he said, in his mind, he says, "Okay, he'll be ready when he's ready." But I was still consistent in my training. I was still learning all my requirements for 5th, 6th, 7th Dan. And then what happened was the WT changed. The master is now 4th degree. Well, everybody started calling me Master Jim. And I'm like, wait, I'm not a master, right? 5th is a master in my mind, right? So now I'm like, okay, all right, I'm ready to test for my 5th. So I tested for my 5th. And then my instructor had said, hey, Jim, you're not a 5th. You've been consistent in your training. You know all the forms. So over these next few years, I'm going to fast track you and get you to the Dan that you should be at. And then that's what he did. Well, some people are all frosted because, I didn't do time and rank. And time and rank is only something that's been around for 50, 60, 70 years. There was no dude in the temple. They had white belts and black belts, and the only reason they had black belts 2,000 years ago is because they got dirty.
Exactly.
So I just tell everybody, hey, just be kind, be nice, right? Let's listen to Dalton from Roadhouse. Let's just be nice, be respectful. If you don't agree with their rank, it's okay, but you don't need to be talking about it behind their backs or saying anything. Congratulate them. Be happy for them.
Exactly.
That's kind of my feeling on the black belt.
Exactly. Yeah. No. So there's a saying in Kempo. Although the belt colors show, doesn't mean that you know. And yeah, it's just that whatever rank that you are, that's going to come out on the mats, in the dojo,
Yep.
in the dojang, in the streets. That's where you get your rank, and just like you said, just being consistent. So something that we say at my Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu school all the time is just keep showing up. Just keep showing up. Yeah, there's a lot of people that are out there chasing the stripes, chasing the red in their belts, chasing all these different things, and
Yeah,
it's
it was my
not about that.
instructor. Man, my instructor admired me because I wasn't chasing the Dan, and he admired me because I had a perception of what a master was, and he knew in time that I'd be ready, and then he'd get me to where I was supposed to be, and I have the years for the rank that I have. I would never go above that, but I know a lot of people. I know some of these people that sit there on their perch and flap their arms and say you're wrong, and they're ninth dans, and when you look at them, it's like there's no way. You don't have the years for a ninth dan. So you don't. Not only don't you have the years, you didn't do the years in rank. I don't care. I still respect you. You're a good martial artist. But you don't need to be the big stick in the room. You don't need to break somebody else's stick to make them look smaller. Be the big stick.
Exactly.
Because you're a good person.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Very well said. Very well said. All right, so we are done with our time today. Once again, I thank you for being on, and yeah, we will definitely talk soon. And I'm excited to get this together for all my listeners. And yeah, just I thank you again so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you for having me. And yeah, maybe we'll do another one for Only the Strong.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, we definitely need to do that. So we'll get that on the calendar.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
Take care, sir.